Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I think a lot of people on the call have a very different level of information about one order, so we're going to kind of start at the beginning and move forward from there. And we'll just go ahead and get started. You have to remember that IATA started the Simplifying the Business initiative long ago, and there were two key initiatives. One of those was NDC, which is a new distribution capability, which everyone I hope is familiar with. And then there was also One Order. One Order was that concept of the single customer order record that held everything, all of the information about your travel, and allowed messaging for accounting, delivery, everything that had to do with that cycle in the same order with one easy place to find all of the information. One Order, IATA really is geared toward, let's make the travel industry the best and simplified industry that we can. And they're really hoping that we'll be able to provide a cost-effective way to manage the sale of travel, and while also offering real-time, very robust data. The initiative really intends to replace, today's, multiple rigid booking, ticketing, delivery, and accounting methods, and uses data communication advances, hopefully made possible by the implementation of new distribution capability. The One Order process really is the next step after NDC, and it uses the NDC messaging to be able to then create the order. There's also another benefit here that would allow ticketless carriers to be able to interact with traditional carrier itineraries, which cannot happen today. So there's some enhanced capability for all the constituents in the ability to use One Order and further their travel experience for their customers. Travel planning with a cart is something I think most people are pretty familiar with, the cart option, which is kind of like an Amazon type of transaction. And you'd shop for your travel there. Ideally, in the long-term realm, air, hotel, rent-a-car, tickets, lounge passes, specialty meals, all of those kinds of things would be in the same cart, basically in the order. And you'd be able to access and add to those orders in this one single place. One Order is an order management tool. It combines reservations and ticketing record systems, and it would feed information about product readiness and delivery to participating carriers, airlines, also ground handlers, and other third parties, whether that be maybe the lounge or, again, in the longer term, maybe a hotel or a rent-a-car. And it also will be able to send messages to accounting systems regarding payment and delivery statuses. The way that we're looking at One Order in these IATA meetings that we're attending is that we're trying to put together messaging that will allow simplification of the process while allowing airlines to be able to customize to their needs. Not one size is going to fit every carrier, and we want to be sure that we're defining a process and a way to do things, but we're not solidifying business rules by any manner of means. One Order is also going to have the ability to talk to downline vendors potentially about delays and IROPs, any changes that may affect other vendors, and could potentially allow updates to the customer orders. There are multiple systems within an airline that speak to each other, whether we're talking about a actual reservation system or the departure control system, the revenue management systems, all of that. Those would all have to be linking into the One Order system so that we would be able to talk to each of those different areas sufficiently. if you look at the one order process flow, if you see the part here for offer management, and then you look to the right, there's the opportunity for the shopping via an aggregator or directly to an agent using the NDC messaging. And as you can see here with the little square box on the left, one order comes in right after that the shopping has happened, and it creates the order as opposed to a ticket. This order will be replacing the ticket today, or tomorrow. Today, NDC right now is actually creating a ticket for most airlines. Tomorrow, it would not be a ticket any longer. It would be this order. And one of the benefits here is that it should be flexible order management system that's able to move with whatever the airline decides it wants to include in its management system. The tool combines that reservation and ticket record system, and this feeds information about the readiness and everything to the participating other airlines. And as we talked about before, I said the ground handlers and the third parties. Looking forward to the expectations of current stakeholders, first let's talk about the airlines. The airlines who decide to participate in one order will be looking to build or purchase an order management system. There are many stakeholders out there today who are working on these. We'll get to those in a little while. The airlines may have to retrofit their current systems with a translator of sorts to take an OMS message, an order management system message, and send those messages back out to other systems that are not quite on the one order process yet. Potentially, they will also need to engage maybe a third party to build a direct sales application for passengers and agents, and continue doing business as it is today, knowing that a PSS potentially would be going away. There are a lot of different opportunities out there for IT providers, not just GDSs, to become aggregators or order management system providers. So there may be some great opportunities out there for new entrants in the market. For the GDSs, to be relevant in the one order world, that the GDS would really need to become an aggregator or creating their own order management system as well. And they will, once again look to be reinventing themselves in that new IT world. We will have to have current processes continue as new models are created. And there are, multiple ways of doing that. I won't get into, specifics of that here, but there are many different options out there that I've seen some IT providers giving some at least high-level scope of what they're looking to be able to do. So it's a pretty exciting world, especially for the IT constituents. Just airlines have to make decisions on how they're going to move forward, and subsequently how the agents are going to move with them. And the agents could be working directly with the airlines for their shopping. As you saw back on the diagram earlier, you can be going through an aggregator or a GDS to talk to the airlines asking for different options for your customers, or they can be going directly to the airline. Airlines will be doing it in many different ways, and maybe doing it in different ways for different agent partners. So there's, again, a lot of diversity there. Potentially there will be, some really great efficiencies that can be brought into a booking process, because you'd be able to potentially book airline travel as well as other airline products in one order with one order number and order items within that order. An easy process for a customer. And obviously, as I said before, the ability to combine the ticketing carriers with ticketless carriers, enhancing a customer's ability to select their flights and their flight options. The current one order timeline is here, and this is a very recent release from IATA. The Messaging standards is set to release this year, the first one, and that will be the initial phase of the standard development, and we'll move it into the second phase for industry capability and adoption. We do continue to develop the standard messaging during the orders meetings that IATA hosts, and we've completed the one order messaging. Completed one order messaging will be reflected in the NDC 18.2 and 19.1 releases. Those are expected. 18.2, I believe, is expected to happen later this year, and then 19.1 at the beginning of next year. And also, you can see here on the guide that IATA is really predicting in their timeline that airlines and system implementations would begin mid-2018 and continue through 2020. And as with NDC, if you're familiar with the NDC process as it's been going, there have been multiple iterations of NDC. There are multiple versions of NDC messaging that are out there today being used. And we expect the same types of things to be happening with one order as it becomes more enhanced, more specific, and can actually complete a broader range of messaging. Talking about the one order pilots that are out there right now, these are the technology providers that are supporting one order standard development today. Not all of these companies have actually created a one order management system, but they are all working and are very entrenched in the messaging and the understanding of how one order is working today. There are names on here that you probably have definitely heard of, but there are some that you may not have. Aviasoftica, that's a Russian-based company, but then there are people like Amadeus and IBM, Travelport, Sabre, that obviously everyone's very aware of. And this data was out there on the IATA website based on October 2017.
Okay, so we're going to take a slight break now and answer some of the questions that have come in. And so the first question is, what is an aggregator?
Well, an aggregator is, we think of the GDS today, and they disseminate the information of all the fares that airlines have provided to them, to the travel agents. An aggregator would take that same thing on and would be able to provide information that is given to them in their systems back to the agent as different opportunities. As well, the agent could say, I would like to have my customer needs to go to Miami to New York. It goes through the aggregator with a message. The message then goes to the airline, and the airline can supply that information back via the aggregator. So it will replace what the GDS is today with enhanced functionality, but it handles the same types of information.
Okay. The next question is, will the one order concept be copied in BSP throughout the rest of the world? So will it be available in every single BSP?
I mean, yes, but one order like NDC is a transformative way to do business. Yes, it will be available in any area that would like to implement it, and BSP, I mean, IATA is definitely looking to utilize it within all of their areas of the world that they serve. And ARC as well is obviously looking to be, out there as, understanding what's happening and how we can help play a part in this business. But definitely IATA is looking to implement in a holistic way, not in a segmented way at all.
Okay. Another question is, so how does ARC fit into the concept of one order?
Well, that's a great question. We are not today actively building anything because we don't know exactly how we want to work. We are just having big discussions internally about where our space in this is, how we want to proceed, how we can best help our stakeholders, our carriers, our agencies, and how move forward into this process. we're meeting with them, trying to understand, what they're looking to do, how they see the benefits, and where they see that we can help them move forward in this new realm of airline processing. I think that, that will change as time passes, but to say right now how ARC is fitting in is difficult, because we really are trying to evaluate where the right space for us is.
Okay. Do we expect the benefits of one order to be on a revenue side or on the cost side?
Well, I think that there's both. I think the benefit of NDC, right, is the fact that you're able to supply, very rich data, very wonderful options to the customers. That, I think, is going to be beneficial in revenue enhancement, but there is also cost savings associated with that. One order does the same types of things, so to say that one would be more beneficial than the other, I honestly can't say, because it depends all about how you approach one order itself. If you're looking to build a system or buy a system, those types of things. Some airlines are very forward-thinking and are already looking to transform their, accounting systems or their payment systems or whatever their PSS. And so they may find some, initial cost that will be obviously very large to be able to move into this type of realm, but there will be obviously benefit on the other end. So right now, because there are no use cases out there to show, the benefits as well as the cost, I can't 100% say which side we're going to see the most benefit on.
Is there any suggestions or is there any talks been on how this is going to work in regards to interline agreements between airlines?
No, interline, in the meetings that I've been in, interline is still a very unknown process for right now. It is starting to be addressed, because obviously as we move further down the road and we bring in, obviously you want multiple airlines to be able to make the best itineraries. And there's some different schools of thought around interline and how that will be working. There are many approaches, one being that, if you're placing an offer and you have agreements with a member carrier in your participation in your itinerary, that maybe their offer back to you is truly the exact amount that you're going to interline. There are other schools of thought that say no, that you still need to have, proration contracts. You still need to have that kind of settlement based on a contract. So there's no concrete thinking yet about how interline will be working. It is definitely in progress.
And how does one order interact with GDPR?
Very good question, and we just started working on that in the last meeting that we had in March. GDPR, obviously one order will have to be compliant with GDPR, as will every other transaction that intersects with a European flight. So they will have to be compliant. It has not been fully vetted or addressed yet, though, as to how that will happen. But I am sure that the technology providers are very well aware of those requirements and will be planning for that.
Okay. And 2 more questions, and then we'll go ahead and then start answer questions again. Another question is, with EMDs, how is one order going to be working with the whole EMDs? Have they reached their peak, and is one order going to replace EMDs? So what is going on when related to EMDs in one order?
Well, a lot of the airlines today are not using EMDs. They are using either a proprietary schema, or they're using their MCOs or whatever. And so EMDs really aren't going to be included necessarily in one order, because one order will be replacing all of that. There won't be a ticket number. There won't be an EMD. It will all be an order item within the order. So to say EMD and one order in the same sentence aren't really compatible.
Okay. And then one last question, and then we'll go forward. What is GDPR?
GDPR is the global data protection requirements that were introduced by the European Union that are all about personal data, how it's housed, where it's housed, who can keep it. I mean, all sorts of personal data information protection. And it's a European Union-based initiative, but it will impact any airline that operates in and out of Europe, and I'm certain that they have stringent auditing requirements, so there will be no one will be subject to their rules.
Perfect. All right, so everyone, please continue to submit your questions. We do have some more in queue, but we're going to go through the presentation a little bit further and then answer more of the questions. So again, please continue to submit those. Okay, pilots. Today, currently, there are 14 pilots being conducted in one order using the alpha release use cases. The Sabre apparently is looking to launch a product in the very near future. SAP Hybris is working with an unnamed launch partner, and they should have hopefully an announcement on their partner in the next few months. ISO and Aviasoftica, which is, remember, that Russian IT-based group, they're reviewing the financial case for one order before announcing their test partners. There are two that IATA has gotten the ability to disclose as actual partners, and one is Amadeus and BA, and the other is Interres with Condor Air. Condor Air is a Lufthansa Group airline. But no other disclosures have been released yet, and this information is available on IATA's site as well, and all the public disclosure consents were maintained as of March of 2018. Now, pilot scope for one order today, you have to be sending at least one order message testing directly related to either an airline order management system to an accounting system, an airline order management system to a delivery provider, or an airline OMS message to an airline. And the scope of the pilot is that it has to include, like I say, one message, and the number of undisclosed partners are numerous right now, so it's a little difficult to tell how much is being tested. We know there are a lot of pilots going on. We have worked together with IATA. We had a pilot test group that was working on some of the different questions that came up from those pilots, and we have found solutions. I think there were 27 items that we worked on, and we do understand that there was the BA Amadeus test was very successful, but from understanding at least IATA's comments about the one message being sent, it's difficult to know how many messages are being relayed back and forth in these pilots, again, since they are quite confidential still. The focus of the pilot testing for 2017 had some different attributes. One of them definitely was financial. Looking at the data elements within a message to verify that there are the receivable information is based on payment information, that there is tax and fee accounting data, generic, you're going to have a generic accounting approach. Remember, as I was saying earlier, we're trying to provide standardized messaging, but not tell an airline how to do their business. So many people look at how they record revenue in different ways, and they need to be able to do that, going forward in the one order scenario as well. And the messaging should be, the timing for the accounting should be customizable by carrier, but the messaging should be standardized. Real-time financial data at close of a flight, again, customizable by when you want to be able to say the financial data needs to be
sent to the accounting system, whether that's at Wheels Up, whether it's at Wheels Down, whether it's something else. The airline should be able to manage their business accordingly. And some other focused testing, as you can see here, are obviously ancillary services. That's a big process of NDC, as well as in one order. Adding ancillary services to an existing flight order, making voluntary changes, cancellations, parcel usage. And this is a current testing focus, which will definitely broaden as we have more pilots and as we continue to create standard messaging for multiple scenarios. The next piece of the pilot focuses are the delivery attributes. Again, using simple use cases, focusing on that message data elements to validate the ability to track service delivery. Did the customer get on the plane? Did the bag get it on the plane and get off the plane? Was a meal delivered? We're also, again, looking at all these different same things in the delivery attributes. Were there changes that had to be made? Was the delivery able to be managed after changes were made? If a flight was canceled, how did we manage through that? And the 2017 testing results from IATA definitely has said that one order is possible. There were no major issues to report. And, the complex scenarios, interline, transition period, participating other airline ground handlers, there are things that we just haven't gotten to yet in creating standard messaging. And so those will be completed with this ongoing work that we are doing in the orders team. 2018 pilots, they're going to be concentrating more on complex use cases. And the interlining of the flight and the non-flight order items, and any missing delivery use cases that we haven't come to yet. I think that there is a vast expanse of opportunity, especially with all of the IT partners that have stated that they're definitely working on one order. We just need to get some further information on, how the pilots are going. I haven't seen any information on some of those questions or the feedback that has come back from pilots since we met last in, I believe it was November of 2017. So we're hoping to be able to see some of that going forward. So what's next? There has, in some meetings I was just in, there was definitely a new focus of IATA on agency back office needs. Definitely IATA PDMG, the Passenger Distribution Management Group, that provides the oversight and direction to the orders, offers, and the integration group, added a priority of evaluating the need for data for the agency back office reporting. So we have been challenged to understand those flows and the pain points that an agent faces needing to get data. Also, there's some upcoming discussion on the ability to void a transaction today. At ARC, there is a different void window than there is internationally. And there's a lot of question about how, with an NDC message as well as one order, how the void window will be working. ARC has done a lot of work recently on their first NDC release to be able to allow airlines to customize some of that. And so we need to be focused on that still. As well, there have been some, different agencies are looking at some different initiatives. For one, just recently in a Travel Weekly article, Peter Velitis from TLG said that, they're focused on new initiatives coming out of IATA, including one order, and they want to be sure that they understand the impact to their business and how they might want to look at handling it going forward. As well, there's, hoping to get, IATA is hoping to have, widespread adoption of one order between 2021, 2025. There's a lot of work to be done in that time frame. But Sebastian Terrain from IATA, again, in a Travel Weekly article recently, said that he thinks that to bring this into a reality, that there would be need to see a lot of companies supporting the one order initiative with multiple pilots with multiple airlines. So hopefully that is exactly what will be moving forward I know that we're spending a lot of time, and there are a lot of people, I'm sure, on the phone that are engaged in the one order conversations. So we'll be giving you more information as we have it going forward. Okay, so now we're down to the questions.
All right. Thank you, Paige, for a wonderful presentation. Again, all of you, please feel free to go ahead and start submitting your questions. We have several in queue, and we'll be answering as many as we can in the remaining 20 minutes that we have left. Actually, 30 minutes we have left. And so, Paige, let's just go right into them. So how are you going to offer, or how would they offer code-share flights with one order?
Well, good question. Code-share is another thought that there are two different kind of schools of thought on. One is that, you offer it the way you would today. If you're looking for an offer for your customer to go, say, Miami to London, and you're either working with your code-share partners to bring those offers in, and those agreed offers come through, and then back to the agent, and then to the customer. Or there could be a fact that you want to go directly to the code-share partner and let them assess, because maybe that's their bailiwick of the itinerary. So there would be, again, how Interline is going to work, how the code-share partnership is going to work. It's really yet to be determined. A lot of it will be allowed to be customized by the airline, because, again, one order is a process and a way to do business. It is not telling an airline how they must do business.
Okay. Considering the interline complexity that would affect how some of the fares are floated by the airlines, would there be more sector fares and round-trip fares used with the future one order? Anything is possible. Again, it's the airline's decision on how to provide offers back to their customers. They may feel that it's beneficial to do it in that way with more sector fares, but not necessarily. And that's going to be an individual airline responsibility to make that decision. Sorry, I can't be more specific on that one. It's not something we can talk to. Who or what is a delivery provider?
A delivery provider it could be really anything. It could be your caterer. It could be your it could be your caterer, it could be your lounge partner, it could be your people who handle baggage. It still could be an entity within the airline, but it won't be the actual flight. So anything along those lines could be a delivery provider.
Are there any pilot implementations for blockchain technology with one order?
I honestly do not know that, if there are or there are not. A good question. I know blockchain has been definitely in the news a lot recently, and there are definitely some opportunities with blockchain technology and what it can do. But right now, I'm sorry, I don't know if there are. I'm not sure if IATA knows. They might have that information, and I can certainly try to find out for you and get back to you in the written responses.
Will GDPR affect ARC's data?
Well, it may. I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, we're talking about an airline that, if an airline A travels from, here to London and then comes back, or let me rephrase. If it's going to Paris, because that's in the EU, and with London, the UK and Brexit, I don't know how they're going to be affected. But if they're going to Paris and coming back, yes, I would believe that there has to be some GDPR data requirement. I just don't know how that exactly affects ARC and the data that we manage. We'll definitely follow up on that one as well, and I can get that back to you in writing.
Okay. So when does ARC believe one order will be fully implemented?
I think it's very hard to say. I think it's definitely going to be in the further realm than the closer realm. I think that Sebastian's estimate of 2021 to 2025, definitely maybe, I think there definitely some people will be moving toward there, definitely toward the end of 2024, 25. But I think that there are some, airlines, agencies that are going to be further behind than that. And there will definitely be a long transition period between, current process, the way we do it today, and the one order world. If you look back and think about e-tickets truly from inception to actual, getting it in the market and the BSP world being fully implemented, it was 10 years. It was a long time. And so this is in many ways a lot larger than that. But there are definitely some key players out there who are really moving forward and have really started getting their implementations moving, and their technology is cutting edge.
Okay. And so how will one order impact ticketing errors?
Well, it depends on how it's implemented. As most people are aware, in the NDC world today, there are options in using NDC, which is the new distribution capability XML messaging scheme. There are some airlines who are utilizing NDC and using their own ticket stock and ticketing for an agency. There are some airlines who are utilizing an NDC message, but they're having the agency still ticket. So to say that, it's difficult to put a one-size-fits-all on everyone. I think that there will be multiple types of transactions that are running through.
I just want to let you know these are wonderful questions. We really appreciate them, and we're just going to keep on going. So please, if you haven't submitted one, just continue submitting them. And so one of the things you mentioned was the delivery attributes within one order is with the messaging data elements, which will be able to validate the ability to track the passenger got on a plane. Will information like this be communicated or available in an aggregator or the GDS?
I mean, the theory would be yes, it would be available in the order. And if the airline that owns the order management system has given their participating other airline, their partner potentially, that information and the ability to access the system, then they would have sent a message to the participating other carrier to say, hey, passenger got on my plane has landed, and he's now coming to you, so you need to be ready to board him. As well, there would be information about the bag. The bag got on my plane, it got off my plane, and now the bag's coming to you. You need to be ready to put it on your plane. So that kind of information will be available. Now, when you talk about data integrity and, when you have to hold how much information is passed, which pieces of information are passed, I can't talk to that today. There will be definitely, obviously, the rules that are employed with all data integrity, and we would obviously, all the one order systems would be compliant with that, or should be compliant with that, I should say.
Okay.
I don't want to speak for them.
All right. So one of the points that you made earlier suggested that ARC hasn't built anything yet to support one order, but does ARC expect to settle one order transaction similar to how a ticket works today? And that's the first part of this question.
Well, ARC definitely wants to be in the middle in the equation when it comes to one order transactions, yes. I don't think that we're 100% sure yet how this is going to be working, because we haven't seen any of the test data to understand what could be flowing through. How airlines want us to work is what we will be doing. We want to be able to, obviously facilitate our stakeholders' needs, and that's where where we're going to be playing. I think more information will be forthcoming as we become more in tune to what our customers are doing, and then we'll be able to give you a better idea of exactly how we'll be managing the business.
Okay. And so the second part of this question is, if one order exists with multiple items, so meals, seat assignments, Wi-Fi, etc., right? and is settled through ARC, will all those transactions or will those items be itemized, or will they be broken out, or is it just one amount?
Okay. Yeah, we're definitely working on that. I mean, again, I think it's going to be just dependent on how the one order systems are built. If an offer comes through as a bundle, it will look as a bundle. If it comes through as individual items, it would look as individual items. There's no fulsome data on that yet because it's going to be individually customized by the airline offer.
Just out of curiosity, from an agency's perspective, what will one order look like to them in their day-to-day operations?
Well, very difficult to say from this perspective. Again, I haven't seen the order management systems. Today, an agency, you have to remember, is working with a GDS, but there are also agencies out there who are working with NDC messaging, and so they're still working, utilizing both opportunities to be able to service their customer. I see one order in a similar fashion, and they will be able to utilize all of the technology at their disposal to be able to make that happen. But I can't say for sure. I don't have specific data yet because we haven't seen anything yet.
And so those are the questions that we have now. Again, please, we have approximately 15 more minutes left, so if there are other questions, please submit them. We do have a couple of questions that came in that we will be answering individually with those that submitted those, so do expect an email after the webinar today, and we will answer some of those questions. And also, just to note, as we are waiting for more questions to come in, we are more than happy to have more one-on-one conversations with airlines. So if that is something that you are interested in, both Paige and my contact information will be available after the webinar. We will be sending out this presentation. So please feel free to contact us, or you can contact your account manager directly, and we'll be more than happy to set up something with you and your airline. And so we're going to give it a couple of more minutes and get a couple, some questions to come in. So one of the questions that just came in is, how is the check-in working without e-ticketing? Should the DCS do the check-in with the one order ID?
DCS is a big topic at the one order meetings because you're right, there has to be something that one order talks to. Now, whether an IT provider decides to build in DCS capability in their order management system, that is their decision. But you're right, something has to be out there to check a customer in and get the transaction and the customer moving through the airport and onto the plane. I totally agree. There is just no roadmap for this yet, and I think, again, it may be a customizable item, but we haven't seen it yet.
And Paige, would you mind explaining what DCS is, just for those on the phone who are not familiar?
So
many acronyms in our industry.
It's a departure control system, and it basically is exactly what the question asks about checking in. When you go to the kiosk and you swipe and you say, I'm here, I need a boarding pass, I need a bag tag, you're talking to the departure control system to say the customer's here, they're getting ready to move forward, they're moving on to the into our system to be able to get to the plane. So there's a lot of technology involved in a departure control system, and there are a lot of attributes that it has, and that definitely is a very big topic regarding one order.
Okay, so those are the questions we received. Again, please feel free to submit more questions. We have a few more minutes left. Would love to take on any more questions. And Paige, while we're waiting to see if there are any questions, thank you again for the excellent explanation today.
You're welcome.
It's been very, very informative.
There's a lot that we, is still being created, a lot that we are working on with IATA, trying to understand, what the different partners are doing and how to move forward. We have ongoing meetings once a month and then twice a year in-person meetings. So we definitely, it keeps evolving, and more messaging is created. And I think that you'll see some bigger moves and shifts in the one order process this year because there is such a big focus from IATA on it. And I think there's some good leadership at IATA being able to really focus their team on moving the IATA initiative, the one order initiative forward.
Okay. So we got a couple more questions, so we'll go ahead and answer those. Would you expect one order to contain the initial sale and any subsequent exchanges or refunds?
Yes, that's the premise of one order, is that everything from the initial sale to final delivery of the last segment and the last bag delivery, et cetera, is all included in this one order and has this seamless capability to be the messaging to all be moving forward through the accounting and delivery processes.
Okay, and I believe this may be the last question because we haven't received anything else. In the case of IROPs, if you could first explain what IROPs are.
An IROP is an irregular operation when maybe there might be a weather problem, there might be a mechanical issue, something that's going to either delays the flight and doesn't allow it to leave on time.
Okay.
Or it could cancel. I mean, it could do that too.
Okay. So in the case of IROP, if the flight is canceled, will the passenger be able to be moved on to another airline flight, being that the passenger has an order number and not an e-ticket number?
I mean, yes. I mean, that definitely is the theory, is that this will replace your order number, your order ID would replace a ticket number, and therefore you would have, you should have. I mean, the idea is that there is a more seamless ability to be able to service the customer more effectively and efficiently utilizing an order management system because all of your information is in one place.
Okay. And then just one last question on refunds. So how will they be processed in the world of one order?
Well, I mean, again, that will be a carrier decision and customized by them. But there should be, potentially, as long as the fare would be refundable, there should be no difference in the way a ticket is refunded or an order being refunded. It's not a total change in process necessarily. Just as today, some fares are refundable and some aren't, tomorrow would probably be the same situation.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, those are all the questions that we received. Again, if you think about any questions and you just are like, oh, I'm dying to know this, I will be sending out both Paige and my information, so you can always forward all your questions to us. And again, for those of you who have submitted questions that we will be answering individually, so you will receive an email from us in regards to some of those individual questions. And again, this is being recorded, so we will be sending out the recorded webinar as well as the presentation by the end of the week. And so with that, again, thank you, Paige, for everything.
My pleasure.
Thank you to everyone who joined on the call today. We really appreciate you taking the time out and getting a lesson on the one order concept. So thank you again, and hope everyone has a wonderful day.